You're really pulling this stunt, Lila, my dad, Henry roared, his face flushing a furious shade of red as his fist slammed down on the table, rattling the dishes. After everything I've done for you? I kept my voice steady, even though my heart was hammering in my chest. Dad, I've been covering your mortgage for 4 years straight. I've bent over backwards to keep this family afloat. But I'm not handing you $10,000 to bail out your latest gambling mess. I just can't. His face twisted into something ugly, venomous. You ungrateful little, he snarled, snatching a glass off the table and hurling it across the room. It exploded against the wall, shards flying like shrapnel. I flinched but held my ground. My stepmom, Diane, materialized in the doorway, her lips pursed in that familiar disapproving frown. Lila, why can't you just help him out? She asked. Her tone so casual you'd think she was asking me to grab milk from the store. My name's Lila. I'm 31, single, and for as long as I can recall, I've been the glue holding this dysfunctional family together. I've built a solid career in marketing, clawing my way to stability while my dad's the opposite, a smooth-talking charmer who can't manage a dime to save his life. When Mom died 10 years ago, Henry remarried Diane in a blink. She's not the evil stepmom from fairy tales, but she's no hero either, just a bystander who shrugs off his chaos. Together, they've built this toxic little world where Henry's screw-ups get ignored or buried. And me? I've been the idiot playing along, paying bills, keeping the peace until now. This was my breaking point. I'm done, I said, standing up and brushing glass off my jeans. I've sacrificed enough. I'm not fueling your gambling anymore, Dad. You want out of this hole? Dig yourself out. Henry's face went crimson, his rage boiling over. Selfish, just like your mother, he spat. Always about you. That jab about Mom stung like a fresh cut, but I didn't let it show. I'm out, I said, turning to Diane. And you're just as guilty for letting this spiral. Her lips tightened, but she stayed silent. That night, my hands shook as I crammed clothes and essentials into a bag. I didn't know where I'd land, but I couldn't stay. As I zipped it shut, my eyes caught the folder I'd been stashing, proof of Henry's gambling, bank statements, an eviction notice I'd kept as my ace in the hole. Tomorrow, they'd see I wasn't bluffing. I woke up to sunlight slicing through the blinds of Sophie's guest room. My best friend since college. She'd swooped in last night with no hesitation, her usual blend of no-nonsense and heart on full display. So what's the game plan? She asked over coffee at her kitchen table. Because if you think they'll just roll over, you're dreaming. I sighed, rubbing my temples. I'm serving them the eviction papers and letting the courts deal with it. I'm done arguing, Sophie. It's all guilt trips and tantrums with him. She grinned, fierce and approving. Good. He's been leeching off you for years. Time he faces the music. She was right. For 4 years. I'd been quietly paying Henry's mortgage, shoving my own dreams aside because he was in a bind. At first it felt noble, family duty, right? But it morphed into a trap. Every time I brought up his gambling, he'd laugh it off or blame Diane for nagging. Diane? She'd just shrug and say, that's Henry. Last night's glass-smashing outburst flipped a switch. I wasn't drowning with him anymore. After breakfast, I spread out my ammo on Sophie's table, texts of Henry begging for cash, bank statements of my mortgage payments, gambling hotline numbers he'd ignored. Whoa, Sophie said, flipping through it. You've been building this case for a while. I didn't want it to come to this, I admitted. But I knew he'd never stop without a push. This is my shield when he plays victim. She nodded. Smart. So when's the showdown? Tonight, I said, my voice firmer than I expected. I'll drop the papers on the kitchen counter when I grab my stuff. By the time they figure it out, I'll be gone. Packing to head over, a weird calm settled in. For once, I wasn't reacting to Henry's mess, I was steering the ship. Pulling into the driveway, my stomach knotted tight. The house looked as beat up as ever, peeling paint, sagging porch, weeds choking the yard. A perfect snapshot of Henry's life, messy, neglected, barely hanging on. Inside, the living room was empty, but the TV hummed from the den. Henry and Diane were probably parked there, pretending the world wasn't crumbling. I darted to my old room, grabbed my duffel from under the bed, and stuffed in the last bits: photo albums, books, Mom's necklace. On my way out, I hit the kitchen. The counter, usually a junk mail graveyard, now held my stack. Eviction notice, financial proof, and a note I'd scratched out. I reread it. Henry, I've propped you up for years, but you've squandered it on gambling. I can't do this anymore. The mortgage is paid because of me. Take responsibility. The papers say it all. I hope you turn it around. But I'm not sinking with you. Love, Lila. My hand shook as I set it down, but it felt right, raw, honest, final. The TV clicked off. Lila, that you? Henry's voice boomed. My pulse spiked. But I took a breath and stepped into the doorway. Yeah, Dad. Just getting my stuff. He squinted at me, suspicious. You're not serious about leaving, are you? You're overreacting. Diane piped up from the couch, exasperated. You can't just ditch family, Lila. I'm not ditching, I said, calm but steel-edged. I'm drawing a line. Read the papers, you'll get it. I didn't wait for a comeback. I walked out, the weight peeling off me with every step. That night, sprawled on Sophie's couch with tea in hand, my heart still raced from walking away. How you holding up? She asked, plopping beside me. Relieved, I said, staring into the steam. But guilty too. He's my dad, you know? Did I push too far? She shot me a look. Lila. You've paid his mortgage for years and he chucked a glass at you for saying no. That's not normal. You didn't go too far, you stood up. She was right, but the guilt not anyway. I hoped those papers would jolt Henry into facing himself, but I wasn't betting on it. Next morning, my phone lit up with his texts and calls. I let them stack up, each one nastier. What's this eviction crap, Lila? You're kicking out your own dad? You think you're above me? Just like your mom. That last one burned, but I didn't bite. By afternoon, Diane called. Her voice syrupy with fake worry. Lila, your dad's crushed. Do you really want this? I steadied myself. Diane, I didn't do this to him. He did it to himself. If you care. Get him help for his gambling. I'm done fixing it. She sighed, you're unreasonable. Family sticks together. Family respects each other, I snapped. This isn't that. I hung up. Hands trembling but resolve intact. The calls kept coming, proving what I already knew. I couldn't cave. For once I was choosing me and it felt like breaking chains. Days later, the messages stopped. Henry went quiet, but Diane kept up her voicemail guilt trips. We can't manage without you, Lila. You're abandoning us. Love, she said. That word hit raw. Love didn't smash glasses or bleed you dry. Love didn't guilt you into crumbling. I need to block them, I told Sophie that night. This noise is killing me. She nodded. You've done more than enough. Blocking them isn't cruel, it's survival. My thumb hovered over the button, hesitant. It felt like severing a lifeline, but when I hit it, the silence was golden. The lawyer called next morning. Henry's contesting the eviction, claiming the house is his. I gritted my teeth. Any proof? None, she said. It's all bluster. The mortgage is in your name, his fight's dead in the water. Relief hit hard. He could thrash all he wanted, the truth was mine. Over the next week I piled up evidence, texts, statements, every penny I'd sunk into that house. Sophie held up one gem, Henry promising to quit gambling if I paid his bills. This is gold, she said. He's got no shot. It was exhausting. Battling my own dad, but it wasn't about winning, it was about freedom. The lawyer's final update came soon after, his challenge collapsed. Eviction's on track. 30 days and they're out. I sank into my chair, the victory bittersweet but real. For once I wasn't the fixer, I was the one calling the shots. The deadline arrived. I pulled into the driveway, eviction papers in hand. Steel in my spine. Diane answered the door, her face crumpling at the sight. Lila, is this necessary? Yes, I said, stepping past her. Henry lounged in his recliner, drink in hand, smirking. What now? He grunted. I dropped the papers on the coffee table. This? You've got 30 days. He skimmed them, sneering. You can't kick me out of my house. It's not yours, I shot back. I paid it off. The courts agree. Fight them if you want. Diane wrung her hands. We're family, Lila. Family. I cut in, voice rising. Where was family when he threw that glass? When he demanded thousands? I'm done being your ATM. This is over. Henry stood, fury blazing. You think you're better than me, just like your mom. I met his glare. This isn't about better. It's about respect. I'm done begging for it. He laughed, bitter. You'll regret this. No, I said, heading out. I won't. Walking away, peace washed over me. The fight was done. Weeks later. The house was mine to rent out. Fixing it up, painting over the past, felt like shedding skin. Handing the keys to new tenants, I let go of the guilt, the ghosts. Sophie toasted me at lunch to Lila. Reclaiming her life. I grinned. About damn time. She leaned in. How are you really? Lighter, I said. Free. Sad too, they're still family. But I'm done carrying them. That's their burden now, she said. You're golden. Soon I dove into photography classes, hiked trails, breathed easy. The house faded to a memory, the chaos a distant echo. Sitting in a cafe. Flipping through my photos, I felt alive, unburdened, me. Sophie slid in across from me. Look at you smiling. Feels good, I said. What's next, she teased. World domination? Now I laughed. Just a life that's mine. That night, city lights glowing outside, I snapped a skyline shot. It wasn't just a picture, it was proof of how far I'd come. For years I'd been the savior, the sacrifice. Now I was just Lila, free finally to live.